Hey, Drew here with Influence Trainer, and I'm so happy to have William Sampson with me. He is a coach, he's a speaker, he's a trainer, he's a networking guru. I've seen him work the room, and I've seen really the culmination of his years of building relationships and connecting with people. And so I'm so honored to have William here with us today to share with you, the Influence Trainer community, about networking and the power of networking. And let me, well, first off, let me just say welcome, William. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Drew. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, this is a long time coming because 6 months ago, I interviewed you at an event we were at together. It was in a crowded area, and we got home and we started to edit the video, and we just couldn't hear anything. It was so loud. So I had to find a time where I could get a hold of you again and interview you and get this great stuff. And I'm actually more excited about this because we were doing kind of a 3 to 5 minute Q&A last time. This time we're just letting it go. I'm going to ask you questions. We're going to ask some of those top questions about networking, and you're going to share your experience from a really a lifetime of sales career. I mean, got to be close to like 35, 40 years in sales. Am I close? Yeah. And so lots of experience in having to go out there and hustle and build a reputation, build influence. I like to say, if you have something to say, something to sell, or something significant to do, you've got to increase your influence. And part of that is building your network. So let me define networking real quick, as I've defined it in the influence quotient, which is the assessment that I have. I got it in the link below. Anybody can download that assessment and really self-assess where they are in their level of influence, and then put together a game plan on how to increase their influence. But I've defined networking as the ability to build a network of relationships and connect people that may have synergy. So it's not just going around glad handing people, shaking hands and handing out cards. It's actually connecting with people, and that's a skill set that you have that I've seen you do. And I just want to share my experience. So I was part of an event in Dallas area a while ago. I invited you to come and be a part of it and join me in it. It was this open event, and that was really the first time. Huh?
Is that at Matador Meats?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really the first time that I got to see you in action in a room where you didn't know anybody going into it, and you had friends going out of it. And I remember standing behind you, or kind of maybe you were behind me, and I was listening to you, and you were making these connections. Like someone would say XYZ organization, and you would say, "Oh, do you know Susie? Does she still work there?" And you give it, and you'd always be trying to make these connections so that so you'd build that rapport and people would feel more comfortable with you. And it wasn't that you were going, I don't even know if you had business cards, and you weren't going around doing this thing, handing out, I heard someone say once, you give 2 cards to everybody. I'm just like, that's 2 cards I'm throwing away, right? And I don't need all that. If I'm interested in you, I can find you online. I can Google your name and find you and find your business. And it's about that meaningful connection. And that's really what increases your influence. Unfortunately, it's not something you can do in this mass thing. You've got to go out and you've got to be interested in other people and build those relationships. And William, you're a master at that. I'll share some more stories about how you're such an expert in networking. But I want to we want to hear from you. So I'm going to stop talking and and ask you this question. So you're fantastic at building your professional network. I've seen it, been a part of it. What mindset, I thought this was interesting as I was just kind of thinking about interviewing you, what mindset or thoughts are you thinking about as it relates to networking?
Drew, thank you. It helps to have been in the same market for 30 some odd years. So I know a lot of people in a lot of different industries. In my last career, I was 13 years with a company, and we were across 9 separate industries. So I've always told people I'm an inch deep and a mile wide. I don't know a whole lot about a lot of things, but I know a little bit about a number of different areas. And I've been exposed to different organizations, different people, I've done things with civic organizations, political organizations, religious organizations. So I put myself out there. So, and I'm always interested in who the other person is. Who am I talking to? Not necessarily because I think I can get something from them, but I've been a fan of Zig Ziglar's forever. And you know, Zig's famous quote is, "You help enough other people get what they want, you'll have everything you need in that in spades."
Hmm.
And that's always been my philosophy. So if I can put you and somebody else together, you guys may be able to do business, but y'all will remember that I'm the one that brought you together.
Hmm.
So I've had a number of conversations. I've been in a number of things going on lately where we've got a lot of different moving parts in different circles, but they're coming together in one area that I'm doing some work in here in Fort Worth, and part of that is we started off with a servant's mindset. I don't know how I can help you, but here's what I do, but you need to talk to this person. You need to talk to that person. And when I put people together, it's basically what I do is I send an email to both parties. Drew and William, you guys need to know each other. Drew, this is William, and this is what he does, and this is why you need to know him. William, this is Drew. This is what he does, and this is why you need to know him. I give direct phone numbers or cell phone numbers and email addresses, and toss the ball over to those two people, and then let them connect. It lets both parties know, okay, I know why I need to know Drew, and Drew knows why he needs to know me, and this is why William thinks we should be connected. So then the two of them, they now have a spark, if you will, between the two of them. I've already developed that common ground between the two of them is why they need to get together. So, like John Maxwell says, connectors connect on common ground, and that's what I look for. I just try to find things that have where there's a connect, there's a natural connection.
Yeah.
Try to force things or you try to make something happen, it's not going to work and it's going to look right. And I think I hope I approach this from a servant's heart, and that's the way it comes out, and it's worked for a long time.
That's great. I don't know if I learned that from you or what, but I do the same thing. I like to make those connections. It's very direct in that way, and connect the people. Tell them the ROI, right? Tell them why I think there's some synergy there, and then I like to add a line on the end. If I can serve either of you in any way, always reach out. And it's a touch, right? Because some of these people that you're connecting, they could be potential clients, but and I know that's not the reason. That's not the heart behind it. Many times they're not potential clients, but they could be potential clients, and you're back on their radar again, right? You're potentially solving a problem for them with no expectation of compensation, and that goes a long way. I mean, really, what that breeds is one of these levers that Dr. Cialdini has taught us about, the leading researcher on influence, which is that law of reciprocity, and which is what Zig Ziglar was saying. If you take care of other people, if you help them out, you're going to be top of mind for them, and they're going to be thinking about you and thinking, how can I pay them back? Not because I have to, but because, man, I really believe in them. I like them. I'm a fan of theirs, and I want to give back to them. But that's really, I mean, it's a step of faith. It's this, you're putting yourself out there with no expectation of anything in return. It's powerful. So that mindset is really, what I'm hearing is that mindset is to serve others, to meet the need of others, to be looking about how can I help other people solve their problems. Would that capture it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's fantastic. That's fantastic. And okay, let me ask you this. Have you always had that? Or was that something that you learned? Did someone teach you that? Is that something when did you make that mind shift change?
I got introduced to networking 30 years ago. And in fact, the guy that introduced me to that was my business partner at the time. And we were in the financial services world. We were with Prudential Insurance, and he was a member of the Chamber of Commerce over in Dallas and was a very big networker. And he said, "Well, you need to get into a networking group." Well, what is that? And he said, it's where you get a group of people together that are trying to do business together, and you get to know each other and you do business together. Like, okay. So he introduced me to a friend of mine who became my CPA that ran a small group. We met at the University Club at the Galleria every Wednesday, had lunch. There was maybe a dozen of us. And interestingly enough, one of the ladies was in the group 30 years ago, lives in San Antonio, and unfortunately she's dying of cancer right now. But she called me back around the holidays and said, William, I just wanted to call you. They've given me X number of days to live, and she's 4 months past that at this point. She's in her 90s at this point. But she said, I just wanted to call, and she said, I'm calling all the people that really meant something to me, and I just want to let you know what you've meant to me over the years, as a business partner and a friend and all of these things. And so we're having this great conversation. I hadn't talked to her in probably, I don't know, 2 years maybe. And while we're talking about this, she's asking me about my business. What am I doing now? What am I doing? Well, you're in downtown Fort Worth. I said, yeah. She said, well, I've got a friend of mine who's CEO of a business right in your neighborhood. Let me connect the two of you. So she did exactly that. She connected me and this other lady. And I'm thinking, okay, she's on her deathbed. She's in her 90s, and she's still connecting. And she's somebody that I met through the networking group 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
So it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. If you develop relationships, the business will come. The business will come. And the funny thing about the story, that my friend who introduced me to networking, he was in a huge group with the Chamber of Commerce. It was not industry specific. There were hundreds of people in there. And I've got this little, he called my boutique group. There was a dozen of us, industry specific. I was the only insurance guy in there. We had a mortgage guy in there. We had a real estate guy. We had a CPA. We had the lady Terry, who was in ancillary benefits. The mortgage guy, David, has done every mortgage on every house I've bought in the last 30 years. And I just referred him to my daughter, who's looking to buy her first house.
Wow.
So it's now becomes intergenerational.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about the relationships. The business will come from it.
Yeah, and that's a powerful example that networking is farming, not hunting, right? It's you planted a seed for a tree 30 years ago, and you're still getting fruit from that relationship. And it's interesting. She called your friend that's passing away, called you. I mean, that's just powerful that you were one of the people she wanted to talk to in her final days. And you obviously had an impact on her life. And that's what I want people to capture with the networking thing. It's not hunting. You're not going to an event to take home a client, right? You're not going to go there, grab a client by the shoulder and drag them and do business with them. It's just not going to happen. You're going to build relationships. You're going to connect with people. And sometimes you have a great conversation with the person, you really have some rapport, and you never talk to them again. It doesn't go beyond that, but that's okay, right? That's all just part of this process of building those relationships and connecting with others. And I said I was going to tell some more stories about you and connecting. So you have a wine tasting that you do. You have some friends in Italy that bring in wine from their private winery. And my wife and I were so fortunate to be invited to this. And just had one not that long ago. And everybody that I talked to, everybody at the table, I'm asking them, like, so how do you know William? And they all had a different story of, well, I was at a networking event, or we were both volunteering at an organization, or something to that effect. And we just started talking. I really didn't know the guy. We started talking, and gosh, I guess we've known each other 10, 15 years now. And it's that's what it's about, right? That's that idea of connecting and building those relationships. It's farming, not hunting with networking. That's great.
That's a great way to put it. And we talk about 6 degrees of separation with every person on the planet. So
Yeah.
with every person on the planet, with 6 people between us, we know every
Especially
person.
with Kevin Bacon, right?
Right. Well, and I tell people in my world, there's 3.5 degrees of separation
Mm,
because I talk to people, I listen to people, and I pay attention and I connect dots pretty well.
yeah.
So I mean, I can come up with scores of examples of places where I've been just nowhere and run across somebody that I have a personal connection with.
I bet that is so good. I'm writing down what you're saying. This is powerful stuff.
Probably probably the most bizarre was when I was in St. Lucia, and
Okay.
we were in a soufriere, which was the old which supposedly means French. In French means sulfur in the air. Well,
Okay.
it's a place of a volcano. So
Okay.
if you know St. Lucia, the Pitons are their famous geological formation, which is on the west side of the island. Well, in that little harbor, just adjacent to the large big Piton, whatever they call it, Grand Piton, I guess, is this little city, and there's a harbor. So we were there, and they said you got to go to the volcanic mud, the mud baths.
Okay.
So we hire our captain hires a cabbie. They take us up there, and we get there, and it's about the size of a small bedroom where they've got it blocked off, where there's literally water coming out of the volcano into this bath area,
Oh my
and at the
goodness.
bottom is all this volcanic mud. Well, you get in there, and the water's hot. I mean, it's like a sauna or a hot tub, but it's just water that's coming out of the volcano. And so we're sitting there, and we get wet, and we put the mud all over us, and we start. There's us and one other couple. We start talking to the couple. She's from the United States. He's from St. Lucia. They've got a house in St. Lucia where they're staying right now, but she lives in Stuart, Florida. I said, my cousin lives in Stuart, Florida, works for Suncoast Bank. I bank at Suncoast Bank. Well, my cousin's Lori Collins. Your cousin's Lori Collins? Here I'm in the islands in the middle of the Caribbean, and this lady banks at my cousin's bank in Stuart, Florida.
Wow.
And that stuff happens to me all the time.
But like you said, you're talking, you're listening, you're connecting the dots. That is a skill set, and we're going to talk about tips, and I want you to expound on those in a moment. But that's a skill set that you've developed and you've learned, and maybe it's a game, maybe it's something you just enjoy, maybe it's something whatever. But it's there is success leaves clues, right? And you're a successful networker, and so I'm going to work to find those clues that you're leaving for us, so we can all learn and benefit from those. But I want you to really make the case for us. Why is building your professional network important? And we're not talking. I want us to be clear. This isn't the example you just gave. You weren't at a networking event. Networking events are great. I go to them. We all go to networking events. But that's not what I want you to hear. Don't hear go to more networking events. You just need to go to more networking. You need to log more hours. No. William is making connections and building his professional network everywhere he goes. You're on vacation, you're just having a conversation, your network is expanding. So why is building your professional network important?
Well, the basis of all sales is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So they can't. If they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you, they're not going to do business with you. So that's just think about that as ground zero.
Yeah.
So to be able to build knowledge and trust and rapport, you just have to have conversations with them. Part of the problem that I find with most people, that when they think about networking, is like you were talking about, they're going hunting, not farming.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when they're having a conversation, they're listening to respond, not to understand.
That's
So
good.
a large part of my practice revolves around helping people unlock develop self-awareness and unlock emotional intelligence. So that's all about understanding who am I.
Yeah.
So because until you understand who you are, you can't be the best person that the people in your network or your circle need you to be.
Yeah.
So one of my statements is self-awareness and emotional intelligence is the cornerstone for every relationship that you'll ever have, both personally and professionally. Because the analogy that I use is like when you get on the airplane and they're doing the debrief, and they say, in the event of loss of cabin pressure, put your mask on first before you put it on somebody else's.
Yeah.
Because you can't give something that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding who we are, understanding what our self-awareness, what our emotional intelligence is, and that's simply understanding that as events come to us, there's going to be things that we agree with, things that we don't agree with. But if we have emotional intelligence, we have the ability to go, I don't really like the way that came at me, but I need to process this so I can respond, not to react.
Yeah.
It's very much the same thing with going to a networking event, where if you and I are talking, and all I'm listening to is clues about, what kind of business do you have, how many employees do you have, what are your what are your problems, what are your issues, and then I want to rapid fire solutions to you. That's hunting. And that for people that understand networking, that is extremely off-putting, and that will get that card taken right to the circular file on the way out the door. It won't even make it to my car.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking you questions about, who are you? Just tell me about your family. Where'd you grow up? What do you like to do? I get to know you as a person, and you get to know me as a person. Then we have something to develop the relationship. We've established common ground. One of the difficulties is for people that are all about themselves, that are egocentric, is they're trying to figure out, how can I tell you how good I am to impress you?
Yeah.
I don't want to impress you. I want you to know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But if you may have problems that I don't have a solution for.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to cram a solution into a problem that you don't have, it doesn't make any sense for either one of us. The other part of emotional intelligence is understanding that there are people that are wired completely different than we are.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I work with is the DISC method of behavioral analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the very, as you can tell with my hand gestures in my conversation, I'm very outgoing and people oriented. Well, I grew up with a father who was the opposite end of the spectrum. He flew for the Navy, was an engineer for IBM for 30 years. My dad, inside the 9 dots, he was great. But he understood that he needed to be better at relationships with other people, because in that his box, he was very task oriented and reserved. So when I encounter people like that, I'm like, okay, well, they think like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not highly relational, and those people. And if you're that way and you're trying to work in sales, and you're used to just going out and talking about the details and the facts, then you need to make being relational a task.
Yeah, it's so good.
If you're highly task oriented and you start talking to somebody who's highly relational as a task oriented person, they're going to shut down. You're going to lose them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're relational and you start talking to somebody who's task oriented and you start off relationally, they'll deal with it for a little bit. You may get the, come on, let's speed this up, but they're not going to shut down like an emotionally wired person. And we're all emotional creatures. We like to think that, oh no, I think through everything and I'm very structured and resonant. Hogwash. We're emotional beings at our core. So we really need to start with that to just help. And again, that's that common ground. That's helping understand who we are as humans and individuals.
Yeah, and I love how you said, if I talk to someone that's more reserved and task-oriented, I just think I'm talking to my dad. And I love that idea of really creating avatars. If you are a person that's more reserved, you struggle. Like William said, make relationship building and connecting a task. Just switch it in your mind. Make it into a task. Come up with a game plan and work your plan. That's what we're trying to help. That's what we're giving you right now. And we're going to give you some very practical tips here in a minute. You just put together your game plan and you walk through your plan when you go to a networking event, or you go to anywhere you're out and about and you're networking. You said another thing about maybe you're not able to solve the problem of a potential client. You're not just trying to cram your thing and what you do into their business. And that's so powerful, because you said you're not trying to impress them. Really what you're trying to do is you're trying to add value to them and trying to solve their problem. And just like with networking, connecting people to have synergy, countless times I know I've been in rooms, I've had these debriefs, and I go, you know what, I'm just not the guy, but I know the gal, or I know the guy that can solve your problem. And I bring that person in, and it solves a problem. And you know what it does? It makes me the go-to person for them. So when they do have a challenge they're always coming to me and saying, hey, do you know anybody that does this? Or can you do this? Or is this in your wheelhouse? And they're always coming back to me, and I become a source for them in that way, that they don't have to think about those things. And so that's powerful. That's if you want the phone to ring coming your way, then solve problems for people, add value to people in that way. Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, I want to get into how do we network, right? So how do we build our professional network? And can you share some of your top business networking tips? So you talked about talk, listen, connect the dots. Those are things you're good at. Can you expound on those, or do you have some others? Just kind of share maybe some tips, some practical things that the task-oriented person or the more outgoing person can use to sharpen their skills with building their professional network.
I think we've touched on bits and pieces of all of those. Um, Learning to, again, starting with self-awareness and understanding how you're built, how you're wired, how do you process information. And when you start learning that, you'll develop systems, and you'll develop strategies in being able to pick those personality styles out in other people. So it can be on the way they speak, whether it's pace or tone, whether they're direct or if they kind of talk you around the solution. People talk about, one of the things, we've got 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. We need to use them proportionally. Well, and the problem is, it's the math is off, because they think, okay, 1 set here, 1 set here, 1 set here, so that's 2 to 1. No, there's 2 of these, 2 of these, and 1 of these, so that's 4 to 1.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking 2 to 1 in terms of how much I need to pay attention versus what I need to communicate, then you got the numbers wrong. If you think about it as 5 to 1, I need to listen 4 times as much as I need to speak.
Yeah.
Because if the old adage, if you're telling, you're not selling.
Yeah.
You've got to be listening to the client or to the prospect or to the person or to just to find out what's going on. Who are they? What do they need? When I was in
when
financial
you said the foundation of sales earlier is know, like, and trust, and you could even say the foundation of leadership, right? People follow people that they know, like, and trust, and people listen to the opinions of people that they know, like, and trust. So if you want your opinion to count, if you want to sell something, or if you want to do something significant and lead a team of people, you've got to work on these skill sets that you're talking about today. And listening is huge with that equation. I just had to pop in there.
One of the things I always said when I was in financial services, because they were, if you didn't do things right, they'd sue you, was prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So and that's, think about that in any relationship.
Yeah.
If I'm telling somebody something I think they need to know before I know what their issue or problem or their situation is, I may or may not be giving them the right medicine for that ailment.
So true.
And it's, I like to say none of this stuff is rocket science, but it seems to be common sense. And one of my philosophies is that common sense and common courtesies are highly uncommon commodities in today's world. And we have to be intentional about being those people, that person, to be to be the one that is thoughtful instead of being provocative.
Yeah.
Today's world is all about shock value and how provocative can we be, and the opposite is what we really need. If we're going to connect with another human being, heart to heart, that's when you get people that are friends for 30 years to call you on their deathbed saying, hey, I was thinking about you and how much value you brought into my life.
Yeah.
You know, if I cram something down somebody's throat, if I'm all about what I'm in or what I need out of the relationship, I'm never going to have that connection with another person.
Mm. It takes discipline, right? It takes discipline to do the fundamentals, to continue to uh, over and over again do those. Because what happens is you think, I should be beyond this, right? I should be beyond having to listen. I should be beyond having to uh, diagnose. Let me just prescribe. I'm the expert. I've got what you need. Let me tell you what you need. And we want to add value, so we want to bring our expertise. We're not saying go in and don't share your expertise. You're sharing tremendous value and expertise. And if you go into a meeting with a potential client and you begin to share some of these self-awareness, emotional intelligence, behavior, human behavior consultant information that you're sharing with us today, whether you do business with them or not, you're adding tremendous value to them along the way. But it might just not be a fit for one reason or another at that certain time. So I think it's important that we differentiate the two. It doesn't mean you just go in there and don't. We talk a lot about being competent. Influential people are competent and they know what they're doing. They're also confident. But we've got to be humble and go in there and listen and be disciplined to do those things, to have conversations with people, listen to actually what they're saying, what they're not saying, what you're seeing in their body language, and then connecting those dots with other people. I mean, those are some fantastic tips, and the whole idea. I love that equation. The equation, it's 4-to-1 on the eyes and ears and mouth, and that challenges me. I've got to really assess. Am I doing 20% talking to 80% listening and observing? And
well,
I
and
don't think I'm doing that.
If we are truly confident and competent in what our skill set is, we're going to know that not every person needs everything that we do.
Yeah.
So the ability to sit down with somebody and invest in them and understand what their issues and challenges are. And then, as you said earlier, I may not be the guy, but I know a guy.
Yeah.
And I'll put you in touch with the guy. And that then sets you up to be a go-to person because they understand that you're in it for their best interest, not your own.
Well, and you can only know a guy or a gal if you're continuing to build your network, have those conversations, and build, the old school term, build your Rolodex, right? And have that list of names, that list of contacts in your phone that has a little note. Hey, this is what they do. Go on your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, so that you can say, hey, I know a person that I trust. I've already vetted them, and they can solve the problem. And so vicariously, I can solve the problem by making this connection for you. And so it's a constant cycle. And one thing, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is probably the most challenging thing. I know there's someone out there. I know there's someone watching the video and or listening to this, and they're like, this is nice, farming versus hunting. That's fantastic. But I've got, more bills than I have dollars coming in. I've got to make a sale. I can't, like, this idea of just having conversations and just, kind of just let it flow and let it come to you. And over time, there is no overtime. I don't have time. How do you navigate that? How do you, what do you tell that person? So someone's coming to you and they're like, William, I want to get to that place. I want to get to where I feel comfortable having these conversations, because the old adage, needy is creepy. We don't want to go in there and I'll do it for $50. I'll do it for $25, and you're just so needy, right? How do you navigate that when you are in need and you are in a place where you're just getting going, you're trying to get ramped up? How do you do that?
The position of scarcity is a difficult place to come from.
Yeah.
Because a client it's like blood in the water with a shark.
Yeah.
A client can smell desperation from a mile away. So There will be people that will do business with you because they feel sorry for you, and you may be able to build.
Had it happen before?
We've all unfortunately, in a 40-year sales career, I wish I could say I've never been in a tight spot, but that's not the truth.
Yeah.
And there are times where, maybe you need to be a little more aggressive, but that's not a long-term strategy.
Okay, that's good.
It may be a short-term solution, but it's not a long-term strategy. So
Perfect.
if you got to make the sale, and you got to make the sale to put food on your table to keep you in the business, then unfortunately there may be times where you go right for the sale.
Yeah.
But that's a situational. That's an event. That's not a strategy. It's
That's
not a process.
fantastic. Yeah.
So, very, very much of what and you kind of alluded to part of this, the analogy earlier. Everything that I work with clients on is a process. So I'm actually writing a book. It's based on the acronym AWAKE, and it starts with awareness. You need to assess where you are. You need to welcome change. You need to acquire new knowledge. You need to knock out bad habits and bad beliefs. And if you'll do those 4 things, then you'll experience greater growth. But it's all a process.
Wow.
And
I like that.
I start with, one of the things that I do in presentation is I have people write their name. And this can be everything from high school kids where I'm doing college and career impact reports, where, helping them begin to learn self-awareness and emotional intelligence at a teenager age, all the way up to corporate executives. So write your name. Now take your pen, put it in a non-dominant hand, write your name again. I don't care how old the people are, how intelligent the people are, but if you tell somebody to write I'm right-handed. If you tell me to write my name with my left hand, first thing that goes through my head is all this nonsense about what I can't do. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm smart enough. It's not going to look right. All this stuff. Fortunately, my handwriting is bad enough with my right hand. So but most people, all these things go through their mind, and I say, look, here's what you need to think about. Your mind is telling you all these things you can't do. You got the job done. You accomplished the task. Your mind is telling you, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. Well, that's just nuts.
Fantastic. William, please share with everybody. So you got your awake process. It's great. I love how you put that together, that whole process. How can people, like, who should be reaching out to you and connecting with you, doing business with you? What kind of services do you provide to your clients?
Well, as you alluded to earlier, speaking, training, and coaching. My primary practice is based around the DISC method of behavioral analysis. So that's where the first A comes from, is assessing your current situation, and then past that, whether it's coaching or training or whatever the next step is, and this is all part of that diagnosis part of the process, is figuring out who we are, where we are, what we want to go.
Yeah.
John talks about the law of the rubber band. It's when you've got tension between where you are and where you could be or should be. And when you have that tension in your life, then it's going to propel you to commit to that process, to grow. The only thing that makes positive that tomorrow's going to be better than yesterday is something you do different today.
Yeah.
So I work with all age groups through the DISC method. I work with younger kids from elementary school through high school, helping them begin to develop emotional intelligence. I work with some schools. I do work with one of the Fort Worth community centers. We're about to put together an after-school program. Helping middle schoolers understand that their circumstances don't determine their results.
That's so good.
We're dealing with some kids in the inner city that are not blessed with the things that you and I were blessed with as kids growing up.
Yeah.
So they deal with some challenges day to day where they're not necessarily in a conducive environment. But one of the community centers here in Fort Worth, we're doing an after-school program for these kids. And one of my philosophies is that your circumstances are no more responsible for your reactions than the mirror is for your appearance. So helping these kids understand that, you know what, I may not have been born into what I would like to be, but
Yeah.
you know what, if I make the decision and I commit to the process, I can be anything I want.
Yeah.
So it's helping them just do some vision casting and dreaming and understanding about being, I can be anything I want.
That's powerful.
That's the human condition. I don't care if you're a corporate executive. If you run a $10 million company, you want to run a $40 million company. If you
Yeah.
run a $100 million company, you want to run a $1 billion company.
Hmm.
So how do I coach that person? It's in you. You have this.
Yeah.
It's a matter of drawing that out and helping you understand what are the limiting beliefs that you deal with, because we all have them.
Yeah.
What are the limiting beliefs that you're dealing with to get to change? So that's kind of the scope of who
Yeah.
I would work with. Teams, organizations, individuals. One of our coaches that you know as well. She talks about we build non-leader dependent high performance teams.
Yeah.
It all begins with everybody at the table understanding who they are, and when everybody on the team has the awareness and emotional intelligence of not only themselves but everybody at the team on the team, then they can develop empathy for other people.
I love that. And we have all of your information in the description below. We've got, I encourage you to follow William on social media. We've got a website, every way that you need to connect with him, do business with him, have a conversation with him. He's going to add value to you. Let him kind of diagnose, let him understand where your organization is at, where you are as an individual, and then either connect you with the person that can solve your problem, or William can go ahead and be the person that can solve that problem for you. And William, thank you so much for all your wonderful insights on networking, business networking, professional networking, really building relationships and connecting with others. It's been a powerful time. Put those tips into practice. Listen 4 times, to listen and observe 4 times more than you talk. And I know that's my big takeaway that I'm going to have to work on moving forward. We have the assessment, the influence quotient below, with the link below for you. Like and subscribe if you're finding value from this channel. Like and subscribe so you can get notifications when we have new videos drop and new interviews like William coming to you. So thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week.